Up and Denver. I love it here. I think if I could live in an NFL city that isn't Los Angeles, I don't love Los Angeles, I think Denver might be where I end up. We have a big show. We're here. It's up-tempo. You got Bo Nix, a 24-year-old rookie. Has Sean Payton found his Patrick Mahomes? I'm probably going to ask him that exact question. Hopefully we get to sit down with Coach. I would like to talk to Patrick Surtain. I'd like to talk to Bo Nix, but if I know anything about Coach Sean Payton, he hasn't even named him the starter, so there's no way I'm getting anywhere near Bo Nix. Who else would I love to talk to? I think Courtland Sutton would be fun. Perennially underrated. 9 quarterbacks have thrown him the ball in 7 years. That's insane. What does he feel about Bo Nix? We'll get to all of that and more right here on Up and Adams Up in Denver. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Up and Adams. We are in Denver. We've got, practice just ended. They're all showering, and then Sean Payton is grandstanding right now in a press conference, just, shaking hands, kissing babies, talking about, I don't even know what. This man loves a press conference. He loves the history of the game. He's a bit unhinged, and that's why I love him. As speaking of unhinged, I bring in Matthew Hamilton here. We're going to talk to Courtland Sutton. We're going to talk to Patrick Surtain. Jerry Jeudy's not here. That feels a little different. You have some consistency on defense, which we love and I think will be really meaningful. We got to lock up Surtain as a lifelong Denver Bronco, in my opinion. Tough division, different vibe around this team, I'd say, immediately in being settled into knowing that they have their quarterback, even though there's some jig going on around naming him.
Yeah, and it seems like, you can just watch him out here at practice. He looks like the guy. Those 2-minute drives, like the poise, the accuracy.
Zach Wilson
great.
Got no love in the 2-minute game.
Yeah.
It's just Bo Nix.
Yeah, it was Bo Nix, and Stidham took some reps, but Bo really looks the part already, which is pretty amazing to see because there were questions about him coming out of the draft. Is he that level of quarterback? He absolutely looks like that level of quarterback.
We talked to Coach at the Super Bowl, and it was like a romance situation. I said, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking to fall in love in the draft process. He hadn't even dug into any of it. And then here we are. He found his guy. He drafted him. I think he's the kind of person who leaves no stone unturned. I don't think he's drafting him if he has questions, and here we are. I think he knew Russell Wilson, that, sort of ran its course, and I know that they think well of each other, and I'm sure he's wishing him all the luck in the world up against Pittsburgh, which they face,
me too.
Which is unbelievable in those black jerseys versus the white jerseys. That's the kind of maniac I love in Coach Sean Payton. So we have that to look forward to, but he's the guy. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes in the broader way that we look at this. We went to Washington. We couldn't get close to Jaden Daniels. DQ did not want to name him the starter.
Yeah.
We go to Chicago. They said, what's the point? We know he's our number 1 overall pick. The jig is up. Let's give him the keys to the castle. They didn't even bring in a veteran.
Yeah.
So we'll see how those sort of line up with each other. And you do have Courtland Sutton here, and I kept seeing the ball whiz to him the entire time. They got into field goal range. They did their thing. Coach seems really happy. He's out there running around like a spry young chicken, which I love to see. I'm trying to think of the questions on this team are, what are realistic expectations for a rookie quarterback in this division?
Yeah, and there's so many unknowns too with the rest of the roster. There's only 6 starters left from the Hackett era. There's 8 new starters on defense this year from what they started in week 1 a year ago. There's a lot of guys who are not going to be necessarily household names nationally that are going to emerge here, but it seems like there's an excitement around that young core, around those young guys, and we saw the receiver group look so good. There were 7-8 guys out there making plays against the number 1 defense, so that's going to be really interesting too. Who from that group out? We know Cortland's going to be the go-to guy. Who's going to be that next guy?
He's one of my faves, though. He doesn't get enough love, and he's been through a lot, so I'd like to see him have a crazy year. I would really like that for him. Riley Moss, a standout, apparently. Young Seahorn in the making. I love that. I love just the whole narrative around that. I think it's very funny. I'm trying to think what else is sticking out to us. Coach has got a young team. He had a bunch of Frank Clark last year, Gregory. He had a lot of guys, Russell Wilson, a lot of guys that they parted ways with to bring in a younger vibe. Does a younger team subscribe to Sean Payton's Parcells-esque energy? I don't know. I think he somehow miraculously walks this fine line balance of getting dudes to buy in and play for him, and still being one of the hardest ass coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think being, a hard ass coach, as you would put it, it does resonate, I think, more with the younger guys that come in. They don't have that stuff to fall back on. Oh, I did this here. I won a Super Bowl here. I have an All-Pro here. Like, they're hungry to prove themselves in this league, and they know Sean Payton has been there and done that and can get them there.
What do you make of Vance sticking around? I can't tell you the amount of tweets I got about that Dolphins game.
Yeah, but the second half of last year, second half of last year, they were incredible down the stretch.
Yeah.
That kept them in it. They went 7-4. Let's not forget, over those last 11 games.
All right, hopefully we get some answers. I'm going to pressure coach to name him the starter on our show. We brought him a coffee. Let's see if he plays nice. From everyone here in Denver, and thank you to the Broncos for having us. Incredible facility. I love the fans here. Just seem so chill. For some reason, the kids are cuter here. I don't know if it's the colors. Or they all wear the same sunglasses, like the same Ray-Ban vibe, and the orange and blue. It all works here in Denver. We will see them hopefully during the season sometime. Maybe I like it because it's like our color.
Yeah, it kind of matches.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll be back after this. All right, I'm here with Super Bowl winning head coach Sean Payton at his second Denver Broncos training camp. I gotta say, a year later, it seems a little more pure joy vibed than it did last year. How would you describe it?
I think it's certainly different. I think our roster's built differently. We're younger. Mm-hmm. We're younger at a lot of positions. We saw this even in the off-season program. And when Greg was at one of our practices, and Kerry, our ownership group, and George and I were talking, it was noticeably different. And I think it really starts with a lot of the new guys that came in, and then the current veteran players that have seen the change. When the off-season program started and they were able to look back on a number of the things that we did relative to stay healthy, and the improvements in that area that we were able to make, I think it's easy to sell the program, the lifting, the running, but then also the pads, the preseason games, kind of our approach to how we want to handle it. But it's entirely different, this team, from a year ago. And, we're coaching a lot of younger players, and there's something about a young team like this that's dangerous. And, they don't necessarily set ceilings or even look at that. And then I would say the competition in the periods has been significant. And I think there's a lot of competition going on in the secondary for spots. The receiver depth chart is real deep, and guys are working hard. And then, of course, obviously a quarterback. We've got three different players with experience, some not. Bo, of course, is a rookie. That room is entirely different. And but you can definitely feel it at practice, and I think your observation at camp is dead on.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun out there. Why are you throwing a blitz at your rookie quarterback in 2-minute drills? What are you doing?
Because that's what's going to happen. I think that look, these guys, you can put them in the simulator, you can put them in the meeting room, and at some point they got to jump on that jet and take off, and then handle some of the problems on their own. And so, how do we manufacture that? We can do it some in practice. Certainly we get those snaps in the preseason in games. A joint practice Friday with Green Bay. The more actual experience they can get.
Another young team.
Yeah, those reps are extremely important.
I love that. I mean, I look at you and I always think maniac. You stopped practice and you ran over and you were coaching up a screenplay. You're involved in everything. You care about the details. You got the Steelers coming in here making them wear black. You guys are going to wear white. You're all about that kind of stuff. When we look at this team in the quarterback situation, you mentioned ceiling here, and you mentioned it in your press conference, and you say when you don't have a sure quarterback situation, there's a ceiling on what you do. So why don't we just settle this right now and name Bo the QB?
Listen, it's a great question, because I think a number of these people here are waiting. When you draft someone in the first round, the fan base, the media, everyone is wanting to know how's he doing, and then I would say he's doing really well. And then the next question is, well, when are you going to? And there's a process. And I think that it'll be sooner than later relative to how these guys finish out this next preseason game. And yet you're also guarded relative to I like the way this room has been preparing. I thought Zach Wilson played extremely well the other night. And yet it's the first time for me with a first-round quarterback. Like, I've never had that.
First time with you with a rookie.
Yeah. And
crazy.
so, like, when Drew was out with an injury or out, we had the Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston competition. We had Teddy Bridgewater come in and play. So we've had but this one's a little different. And I think we're following the script. And make no mistake about it, when the draft ends and here comes the first rookie camp, you're paying close attention to all your picks. How do they look? And you're hopeful and you want to see them do well. And what's nice and assuring is, now we're months into this, and I think not excluding Bo, but I think the class in general is really, really playing well.
But I think it's like a bit of the jig is up, though, Coach. Like, it's like we know he's the guy. Why not hand him the keys like Chicago did to Caleb?
The band's still playing.
What do you mean?
They have one more song.
What are you waiting for? So you're waiting to see what this next preseason game is?
This next game will be important.
Why does he have to earn it? What is the problem with just naming it? Like, what I
think it's important to the team that they see.
All right.
In other words, I'm not naming the starting cornerback between Riley and Mathis. Meaning, I'm not doing that with these other positions at receiver, and so it would be different if you just done it had made a decision with one position, and I'm not ready to do it with all the positions. So, look, he's playing well. He now there are a few things in the game that we got to clean up, and I'm encouraged with how he's playing, just as I am with Stiddy and Zach. But I think there is a process to it, and we discussed this back in minicamp when we saw the Bears named Caleb their starter in the spring. And
no veteran. They didn't bring anybody in.
Yeah, and I understand that, but philosophically we were going to be different, and we were just going to the timeline is just going to be different. But we're getting close. If you come back in the next week or two, I think it might time up.
Oh, I wish you would have broken it on my show.
Use your flight miles.
Yeah, there we go. We love having you on the show, and I want to talk a little bit about your quarterback. He's not a young rookie. I interviewed him, and he seems really grown up is the word I would use. What sticks out to you?
Well, I think he is to some degree. It's unusual to have someone that started 61 college games, and that's a lot. And part of that's COVID and transferring. He's married. They were asking me about Bailey, and he's someone who did a mission in college, and so he's older. I think Bailey's 26. So with Bo, you do feel a more experienced player. You don't feel a true rookie. And
how big of an advantage is that? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, 24-year-old rookie, that's not great.
Yeah, I'm unconcerned with that. I mean, we've seen like some of the best quarterbacks ever play our game have their best years into their 30s. So it was more about getting it right. And look, you could take an experienced quarterback who's had 61 snaps, who's mature. That may not be good enough. We saw really, really good when we evaluated him. And for there were a lot of, hey, the underneath throws, that's the offense he's in. But, when we did all the analytics and the studies with him, we eliminated those throws in the comparison side by side to the class. And so we worked out all of these guys. We didn't get a chance to spend as much time with Caleb because I think there was an understanding of where he was going. But Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ, all of these guys, we were pro day visits, private workouts, private tests, where we went in and spent 2 hours.
Were you right?
Yeah.
I mean, you famously knew Mahomes was going to be Mahomes. You wanted it in that draft. It didn't work out. You had Drew Brees. You know what greatness looks like. You have this rookie quarterback now. Have you found your Patrick Mahomes, like you said?
Now that's a tough one for anyone. But I think we found a really talented player who's doing the same things that we wanted to see that we saw on college tape. He's got plenty of arm. Man, the ball comes out fast. It's hard to sack him. When you started looking at all these metrics, minus play differential. He's 6'2.5". He's got huge hands. He didn't have a fumble at Oregon.
Look at your face, Coach.
Yeah, so it's a bad poker face.
What was the moment? I need the moment where you were like, "Yep," or the closest you've come to naming him the quarterback before it's
no. The moment in the process though was when we were at the school. He had his pro day on Friday, and then we sent him an email, and we try to send the email to these guys at the same time, 5 p.m., and then we're going to start the visit the next day at 9 a.m. So there's, same amount of time they have. And it's a little bit more maybe than they should expect to get. Like we're giving them more than we think they can study for. And so we arrived 9 a.m. I'd never been to the University of Oregon. And so he was ready and did a great job. We were probably in the meeting for 2 hours. We covered almost everything that we had sent the day before. And then I start picking on him. I want to know what's in his backpack. And he keeps pulling out like athletic tape.
You did a what's in your bag like GQ. Empty your bag.
I did.
You're ridiculous.
Everything in it. I kept
Coach.
waiting for a lifesaver or chewing tobacco to fall
A vape,
out.
something, yeah.
Nothing. No vices.
A slingshot. What are you looking for?
It was all football. It was a lacrosse ball for his back. It was shoes. So then we went on the field, and he threw probably about 80 passes. And I think during that period is when I turned to George and said, this is the guy.
I'm in love. You were telling me at Super Bowl you want to fall in love.
This is the guy. Yeah.
And you did it. How are you adjusting this? You threw the gauntlet. I can't decide if you're like as a quarterback, if you'd be a fun coach to play for as a rookie or a nightmare. I assume that there's a balance, but now you got to simplify it, or not simplify it, but you got to streamline it.
I think the key and the good news with the three of these guys, they move well. Like I'm going to give you the opposite. We just played Indianapolis, and they have 5 quarterbacks on the roster. So you deal with Richardson as the one, and you know what you're going to begin to build on. And then 2 is, our guy from Baltimore that was up in Cleveland last year. Flacco. And so those 2 couldn't be any more different. And so there's a challenge in your offensive, like how do you, and obviously when Flacco's in, you're going to do certain things, and when Richardson's in, you're going to do certain things. There's less of that with this group because, look, Stiddy can move around well, make plays with his feet. Zach the same way. These guys are athletic, and they're familiar with the RPOs. They're familiar with like-minded offenses, and so it doesn't become this is the script for one, this is the script for the other. And sometimes you have that luxury, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So I think that the 3 of them in that room have been doing a good job. And look, Davis is with them. Davis Webb's doing a great job. And it's unusual that you get a quarterback coach that literally just finished playing, and then even last season gets an email from a team about possibly playing still, and he's coaching that room.
Yeah.
So you do have a little bit of a caddy there and a real smart up-and-coming coach who's working with those guys. And so if there's any good cop, bad cop, Davis is the good cop, and I'd be like the one screaming at Bo, like, I hate your cadence or something.
Is there an adjustment with the play calls for him? Will they be shorter, simpler, streamlined?
I think our job always, and we lost Drew week 2 against the Rams. Teddy Bridgewater's up for 5 games. Certainly we evolved in those 5 weeks. And I think the art and what we do of coaching is like, all right, what are the things? At one point in camp, I asked Davis, I said, I want each of those players to give you their favorite pass play. And then we put all 3 of them in.
Okay.
And then we've kind of had a little joke as to how these plays are doing. Was it Stiddy's play that's doing well? Like, doesn't mean that Stidham's going to run it. The other 2 might get it. But I want to see, and I might ask them for their second most favorite play. So I think we move and evolve with our skill set. And it's, look, they can handle the long play call, and yet we'll reduce verbiage if we need to. But it was interesting when we did that, they each right away had a play that, like, it's got to get in. And so all 3 of those have been in. And I think you build on their strengths.
You love this team. I feel like you love the team you have right now.
I like them right now. I want to love them.
I don't know what that's going to take. Tell me about
right now.
Tell me about Riley Moss. What's his
so
story?
he's in his second year. We drafted him last year, 3rd round out of Iowa. He's an extremely athletic player. He gets a lot of flack for being one of the only white corners in the league. I get it. But he's someone, he and Damari Mathis, Damari's lost some weight. The two of them have really had great competition at camp. Back to Riley, I think he's long. He transitions well. He's always in phase with the receiver, and when we're completing a pass on Riley, it's contested always. It's not like open. And so I'd say you see football
you
like
have these tall. You have the tallest receivers of all time. I'm looking at these guys. Why? I
like it.
Mims is your speed guy, but everyone's going speed, and you're Mr. Tall.
I walked out of the tunnel my first year with the Eagles in 1997. I'll never forget. It was my first year coaching in the NFL, and we were playing the 49ers on Monday Night Football, and their receivers came out. This is a regular season game. And it was Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Stokes, and every one of these guys were just. And I just looked at them, and so we have guys that aren't as tall, but I think the catch radius in our league's important.
Yeah.
And I think the target area becomes bigger, and so the smaller players have to do something exceptional. And we've got, some phenomenal receivers in our league that you'd say, hey. They're close to walking on water. Tyreek Hill's one of those guys that, he walks on water. He's something. So, but I think from a health standpoint, what we're asking them to do, I think it is an advantage.
I love that. This is Riley. I have to bring up Seahorn, don't I? Isn't that?
I was with Seahorn.
I know.
Yeah. So.
I feel like we have to.
Seahorn was one of the better athletes on that team.
I know.
Yeah.
Does Riley Moss have Seahorn vibes?
He's got that athleticism.
Really?
Yeah, he sure does.
Last one for you. What is one thing that this you have a young team. You prefer it that way.
I like
What's one thing you can't believe they don't know about? Like that you've caught yourself being like, how do you not know Steely Dan or like something?
That happens all the time.
I know. What's a good one?
It's just, man, I bring up a movie or like something. Even the coaching staff will be like, and then there's 8 people that get it.
Yeah.
So it could be.
No TikTok dances for you, huh?
It could be an artist. It could be. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it's when you feel age. I find though, this, and I talked to him the other day. Periodically we're selling all the time. We're selling recovery stations on ways to stay healthy. We're selling sleep, nutrition, and I think if this is Gen Z, I think they're interested in that. They just want to. They want to judge for themselves, and so it's up to us to sell them. Then
you are a pro Gen Z coach. We love to hear it.
Yeah,
great.
That just requires how we approach it's different than how we approached who was before them.
All right, Coach Sean Payton,
who was
ladies
before
and
Gen
gentlemen.
Z?
What do you mean, me, millennials?
You see, we went from millennials right to Gen Z.
What do you think? What do you think's in
so
between?
So the millennials were different. Yeah.
Millennials are like the Flaccos, the Aaron Rodgers.
I thought there was a Gen before Gen Z.
Absolutely not.
All
that
right.
would make me really upset if we were 2 generations later. Stop
right.
trying to age me, jerk.
I'm not.
kidding. Coach Sean Payton, we love you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Anything else you want to get out
It's
there?
good seeing you. Thank you for
what's
coming.
on here?
This is Sam Mustafer had a birthday yesterday, so we made an announcement. These
You're
are the
wild.
Guest coaches that were here, so I'm on point.
All right.
And then, these are the
What's
notes.
your thing? Is on this. What's your thing? All right, we'll be back on the Up and Adams show. Thank you. You're the best.
What it do? Y'all back at it. You feel me? We up here with Up and Adams. We got my boy Patrick Surtain. You feel me? The one and only best corner in the game. We over here with the best host of one of the most popular podcasts out here. You feel me? Miss K. Adams.
Wow,
Triple K Adams.
Cortland Sutton. You got a future, but not until you get, I don't know, an All-Pro, a couple Super Bowls. We got Cortland Sutton and Patrick Surtain. I don't know do I want you two getting along during training camp? Shouldn't you guys be at each other's throats a little bit?
No,
it's friendly competition out here.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron.
Out here grinding, make each other better. That's all.
That's it.
I walked in today. No disrespect to you, Cortland, but it was Surtain jerseys all over the place. That's got to feel good, right? Those numbers, everyone has your jersey. What is that like?
It's pretty cool. Seeing the fan base support you in that manner. Just seeing it across the whole, training camp practice. It makes me, feel excited in some sort. So it's pretty dope to see.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, I was with him. He said you locked him up. He's like losing sleep over it. Devontae Adams says that you're the best corner in the National Football League. What is it like to go up against Mr. Iron Sharpens Iron, Pat Surtain?
Man, it's the best. I tell guys all the time, I get to go against the best corner in the game. I get to come out here and, work on my craft against the best. And, when I do that, it only gets me better. It gets me ready for the season. And, I look forward to coming out to practice. I look forward to getting to go against Pat every day. Because at the end of the day, I feel like I'm only getting better, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do during training camp. Go out here and push each other to elevate our games, continue to elevate. And like I said at the beginning, I'm chasing these accolades that Pat's been able to, acquire early on in his career, trying to get the All-Pro attached to my name, get another Pro Bowl attached to my name, and then ultimately become a playoff team and be a Super Bowl champion. So all of these reps, that's ultimately what we're trying to get out here and do. Pat go out there and do his thing on defense, and I'm able to go vice versa, do my thing on offense.
Cortland, how many quarterbacks have you had? 9?
I think this is
9.
Yeah.
Sheesh is right. It's insane. 9
Damn,
quarterbacks.
Oh,
That's impossible, truly. And for you to be able to be a standout wide receiver, given that situation, fact, it's beyond crazy. Now you have what I assume is your guy. I know he hasn't been named the starter because coach wants to be some Parcells, old school, whatever. But tell me about the chemistry, because I was here at practice and it was him to you the whole time.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice. Like you said, Coach, I think coaches, wanting to leave it open and see what happens. And, I think the guys have been doing really well. I don't want to discredit Zach and Jared. They've been doing their thing. But, Bo had a really good showing in the preseason game. And, watching him go out there and command the huddle and command the offense, especially in the 2-minute drill, I think it's really cool to be able to see him go out there and do that and have the success that he had. And then, he's been doing his thing and progressing in practice. And I think that's ultimately what you want to see out of a young guy, but especially out of a young quarterback. Command the huddle, continue to command the offense, continue to grow, find his reads, and then be able to make the throws. And, he's been doing that. And it's been a lot of fun watching him grow in these past 3 weeks of practice. And, it's early. We got a lot of ball left to practice and go play. And so it's been a lot of fun watching him develop and grow.
Can you give me like a specific that you're like, oh shit, he's gotten really a lot better at this day to day?
Man, the huddle, honestly, I think that the transition from college to the NFL, I know for myself, and I hear from a lot of other young guys, is, nowadays in college, you stay on the field, look at the sideline, you get your signal, and everybody stays in one spot and then goes out there and runs a play, where it's like, now it's like you got coach in your ear telling you this, 20-word play, and you got to be able to relay it to everybody in the huddle, because you're telling everybody in the huddle.
There's no way he's giving him 20-word plays,
I
so
mean,
right? He's got to be shortening that up,
that's what
right?
It sound like.
Really?
Defense, ready, break. The boys still be in the huddle. I'd be like, oh.
Really?
You see the whole picture book on the sideline. I'm like, yeah.
I feel we're gonna have to adjust to him. He is an older rookie. When I interviewed him before he was drafted, I was like, "You're a grown man. You're not like he's not a rookie." I think that's a really good thing for this team, as young as it is. Pat, you've gone against Tua. You've gone up against Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. What stands out about Bo Nix?
Yeah, I just think he's very composed. He understands the offense very well. Obviously, his chemistry with Court, Tim, Josh, and everybody, I think it stands out. And he's taking command of the huddle, taking control, and he's just looking very confident. I just remember, like, the first day he was here in OTAs, he made a no-look pass, and everybody was like, okay, he's coming in with that mojo, that swagger, but it's good to have, good to see. Him coming in with that experience and that confidence, it speaks for itself.
I love that. And you're obviously helping him get better. Contract situation coming up. I mean, your Devontae Adams gave you a seal of approval, all of that. I guess I just want to ask you, I mean, when I'm out here, if there was one NFL city I could live in, it'd be this one. You are this team. I think so, yeah.
What you like
Can
about it?
you imagine? I think just the air of the fans, everyone's like kind of chill. Like it just seems, I don't know, it's good. It's great.
Okay.
Nice little
you guys
aura.
don't agree with me?
No, we 1,000%.
Nah,
we just wanted to hear your opinion.
For sure.
It's a good aura, as you're saying. I'm not going to ask you what it would mean to you to stay here. Can you imagine playing anywhere else?
At this moment, no. I just think the whole organization as a whole is great. From the front office to the coaches to the teammates, everybody around the organization. I just think they do a very good job making sure their players okay, making sure they right, and it makes you want to play here for a long time. So, I don't see myself going anywhere further. Obviously, contract talk is going to play a big role, but at the end of the day, I love it here.
Cortland, we're talking about Riley. Tell me about going up against him.
I've purely enjoyed going up against Riley. I think that I don't know if I've spoken on it before, but I think that Riley was doing really good last year as a rookie. He unfortunately had an injury during training camp that, wound up limiting him during training camp. But he looked good last year, and he came in this year and he's been focused. I can tell that he's been trying to work on his technique, critiquing his technique. He's a competitor, which is, I think that's the biggest thing that you have to have at that position. They have one of the hardest jobs on the field. They're going backwards, and they have to guard guys that are running, 4-4, 4-3, 4-2 at them, and they have to be able to react and do it in a way that isn't going to, cause a penalty. And, I think he's been doing a really good job of fine-tuning his technique, fine-tuning his, abilities, and, he has the best in his room to be able to learn from. I'm not in their room, but from what I've seen on the field, it seems like he's trying to take as much as he can from Pat. And if he continues to do that, then, the skies is his ceiling, as people would like to say.
Pat, you're in the room with him. Could this be a starter in the NFL?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see it every day. He's like a sponge. He's willing to learn, soak up game. But also, when he comes out here, he's competing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
He's finishing every play, finishing every rep. And when you see a guy like that that's that determined, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. Obviously, I think he got a little chip on his shoulder because there's a motto out there saying that there's only three white corners in the NFL, so everybody gonna be like, "Oh man, let's see what he got." You know what I mean?
He would be the only. If he gets named the starter, he'll be the only white starting cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. I mean, that's kudos to him. That's
How does he handle that? How does he handle the joking?
I mean, shoot, he take it how it is. Obviously, it's a joking matter.
Of course.
Obviously he knows his talent at the end of the day, but when we would talk to him about it, it'd be jokes and laughter for sure.
I want to ask you about Garrett Wilson. I know he gave you your flowers, but he said you locked him up so badly. He has lost sleep over it. You get the Jets week 4. I have the stat line right here in case anyone's wondering. You held him to 1 reception and 11 yards on 5 targets. Is your plan to ruin this man's sleep cycle once more?
Hey man, we out here competing, but I'm looking to get the best of that for sure. You know what I mean? I'm out here competing, but Garrett, he's a great player. I'm looking forward for those matchups. Obviously got him and A-Rod back, so that connection going to be strong. But, I look forward to it for sure. In MetLife, yeah, I'm just looking forward to compete.
We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how
of course, you're playing in the preseason, which we love to hear, I heard.
Yeah, I'm looking towards playing this week. So
that's good. Let's talk about Sean Payton, my favorite subject. How has he changed from last? I mean, I think about it, and I'm like, he came into this, like, not last minute, but not with a full off season or a plan. He had to do all this. Like, he's so aggressive. He's a maniac. He's like details, or he's obsessed with. Has he evolved at all? Has he adjusted as the team has? What's like the energy switch that you guys have seen out of him?
Yeah, I just think for his standpoint, obviously his resume speaks for itself. I mean, he knows how to win at a high level, but when he's out here, seeing us, grind each and every day, I just think he's very happy how far we've grown as a team, honestly. And, when you have a coach like that believes in you and trusts in your ability on both defensive side of the ball and offensive side of the ball, all you got to do is just rise the level of play. And that's a standard that he's been holding us to, and we've been rising up to that.
He seems to feel like this team is buying into wanting to be coached, wanting information, like, and a lot of veterans left from last year, but the young players are buying what he's selling, it sounds like. Do you think that's true, Cortland?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think that Pat hit on his head. Coach came in last year, and I think he had to set the foundation. He's had the success, and he had to come in and set the foundation for what the expectations are. And I think that foundation got laid very, very firmly and sturdily. And I think this year has been, we're putting up the walls, and I think, everything is coming into itself because we all understand, the guys that have been here last year, we understand what the expectations are. And so now coach doesn't have to keep harping on what the expectations are. It's like, okay, now we know what that is. Now let's take it to another level. Let's take practice to another level. Let's take the competition to another level. Let's take the focus, the meetings, everything to another level. And I feel like that's where everything has been. And you said it. You've known Coach probably longer than we have. He is a attention to detail, like to a different level. And it's fun to be able to do that. And I think that us having last year, it allows him to still be on that, but focusing on something else. It's like, okay, we laid that foundation. You guys understand the formation. You guys understand the concepts. Let's take it to another level. You guys, let's. I don't have to talk about that anymore, but this part of the route, let's be detailed in this part of the route so that we can not have to go back.
He stopped practice today and ran in the middle of everything to like coach up a screenplay. I'm like, what? Like, he's insane.
Yeah, that
Literally coached up a
detailed oriented.
coached up a bubble today.
No, I saw. I was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" But
Yeah,
I love to
man.
see it. I love you too. I'm just so excited to be here. We'll be back after this. Cortland Sutton coming to an All-Pro playoff year and Patrick Surtain, a Denver Bronco for life.